community leader who's looking to really build your community through the power of email? It's the first chance you have to get in front of the right people, and you should make the most of it. So many community leaders take the template approach, and you've lost your community before they've even found you. How about crafting the perfect welcome series instead? You can grab my guide, Crafting the Perfect Welcome Series, at theaudienceconverter.com/giveaway. Discover the tips and tactics I use to help my clients get up to an 80% open rate. When people open those first few emails, they're more likely to continue opening your messages, engaging, and buying from you. Build your community the right way with a welcome series that converts. Grab your copy at theaudienceconverter.com/giveaway. Ever taken the time to truly define your own entrepreneurial freedom and what that might mean for you? That's what we're diving into today on this episode of More Conversations, Clients, and Cash. I'm your host, Kimberly Weitkamp, a conversion copywriter, marketing strategist, host, and podcaster. And today we are all about what does freedom really mean? Now, if you're listening to this on release date, we are right around the corner from the United States, a day of freedom, day of Independence Day, July 4th, all of those wonderful and amazing phrases. And one of the things I noticed is that, we all have our own definition of what freedom really might mean, but few of us actually take the time to sit down and define it. And what I have found is when we're talking about marketing, when we're talking about strategy, when we're talking about any and all of the important things when it comes to building our business, you really do need to have a goal to move towards, right? And it needs to be a goal that you feel is attainable, a goal that, you really resonate with. I've noticed, right, like when I first got started, the phrase everyone was using was make six figures as a copywriter and work from the beach. So there were two things wrong with that, right? I thought, oh yeah, okay, I want to be able to make six figures and work from the beach, but really I didn't. And here's why. Number one, at the time, I was like, six figures, what do I need six figures for? That was literally my thought. It's like, why would I strive to hit six figures? So while everyone around me told me success meant six figures, I didn't see that as my success metric, right? That wasn't where my ultimate goal was. My ultimate goal was time freedom and location freedom. I want to live where I want to live. I want to travel when I want to travel, and I want to work when I want to work, right? So that doesn't necessarily mean a six-figure business at the time. And then, of course, we had work from the beach. Now, you get to hear my lovely dulcet tones from your wonderful earpods. However, I am as pale as Snow White. Okay. I don't really enjoy spending a lot of amounts of time at the beach. And quite frankly, I have actually tried to write from a beach before. I was living in New Zealand at the time, doing a bunch of travel, and I was documenting my travels and what was going on and what I was doing. And I had a blog. And I actually took all of the content off the blog before shutting it down. And it was well over like a 150-page book of travel stories. So I was, blogging, and I was like, okay, well, it's a lovely day. The water's calm. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. It's comfortable. All right, I'll take my laptop and I'll go right from the beach. And immediately all of the things started to trickle into my mind, right? Like, okay, if I get sand in this thing, my laptop is kaput. And it's not really comfortable to try and hunch over a laptop and use my knees as a desk. And the sun is so bright that I can't actually see the screen. So I can't really see what I'm typing or if I need to change anything. So I already knew that I had no desires to work from a beach. First off, it's hot. Secondly, I don't want to look like a lobster at the end of the day. And thirdly, I would honestly be in fear for my electronics because they are what runs my business. And I don't want to have to replace all of them every single time I decide to go to the beach. So that was the promise of freedom, right? You could work from the beach. That was the type of freedom, and that you were going to make six figures. And for me, those weren't incentives. So for the first couple of years, my business stagnated. I, made money. I made revenue. I got clients. Woohoo. But I didn't really have a goal to move towards because I never really said, what does my freedom look like? What do I want out of this entrepreneurial lifestyle? I find it very interesting because so many of the people I work with, they're like, yeah, I want to have more time to spend time with my family. I want to have more time to relax. I want to have more time to, do the things I want to do and live the life I want to live. And then I would ask them one question because usually I was working on a particular project for them. I'd be working on a welcome series, and it's all about, building connection with your audience, right? Some marketing, some existentialism, some mindset stuff we're working on here today. So for them, I would say, okay, your definition of, your ideal life with this business that you've built is that you want to have more time with your family. You want to have more time to do the things you love. Great. So I would ask then, okay, so what are some of your hobbies? What are some of the things you love to talk about outside of work? And about 80% of the time, I could not get an answer from anyone. They were like, well, I love what I do. So that's what I like to talk about. I said, yes, okay, that's wonderful. We all want to love what we do. And I love what I do. I love seeing those aha moments with my clients. It's always fantastic to hear about, the client that had their first ever 6-figure event that was filled with working with me, or they 4X their webinar signups, or they're super happy because their cold traffic is converting at 37%, right? Those are all things that make me happy. I love doing them because it shows me that what I'm putting out into the world and what I'm helping people with also helps them live that life they want. But outside of work, what do you do? It's like, do you read? Do you watch TV? Do you hike? Do you, I don't know, cultivate bumblebees? What do you do? And so many people don't have that item because we've become so consumed with, well, that freedom will be there when I get there, instead of I'm going to create that freedom that I want. So it's Independence Day, or it's near Independence Day, or it's sometime in the middle of December where you are and listening to this episode. It doesn't matter. But there's never a better time to define for yourself, why is it that you're doing what you're doing? What is your definition of freedom? What does that look like for you, for your business, for your life? One of my favorite things to remind people of is that you do not have to work with people you don't want to work with. You are your own boss. It is your life. It is your business, right? It is your coaching business. It is your ability to make a huge impact and transformation in the world. And you get to define what that looks like. So if you decide for yourself, you know what, I want more time with my family, then you make the declaration, right? You're not going to go work on the weekends. Or, you know what, there are plenty of places where there's 3-day events, and one of those event days is on a Saturday, right? So some of us are like, I love going to those types of things. It's a great time to meet people, but I do want more time with my family. Okay. So if you're going to go to a 3-day event like that, make sure you set aside a day to make up for it. Make sure that you set aside 3 days the following week where you end work early so that you can spend all of the time with your family after they return from their various pursuits, whether that's school, whether that's work, whether that's their volunteer work, it doesn't matter, right? But the importance is to find that balance. But balance is what you make it. Work-life balance does not mean, oh, well, I only think about work during these hours and I only think about life during these hours. Work-life balance could be, you know what? This week, I'm dedicating 60% of my waking hours to work, 40% of my waking hours to not work, to life, to family, to vacation planning, to whatever that looks like. It could be your decision that, you know what? I am never going to work another Tuesday again. Why Tuesday? Why not Tuesday? Do you want a day during the week where most people are going to work or at their 9 to 5, which most people also want to escape when they become coaches and entrepreneurs? And you just want a day to do all the errands and not have to go places that are crowded. So you want a day where you can schedule doctor's appointments, where you can schedule people to come to your house to fix things, where you can go grocery shopping. If you want to make that every Tuesday, that is your choice. You can do that. That can be your balance so that on the weekends, it's just time for you to relax. Or on Saturdays, you only work for 2 hours doing your most important task that needs to get done by Monday morning, and the rest of the time is yours. But you're not spending 7 hours trying to navigate a grocery store, overflowing with people and children trying to do their weekend grocery shopping. That's your choice. You could decide, you know what? I am a night owl. I don't like mornings. And by the way, that is me. I do not like mornings. Mornings are not my happy place. I write good before 2 o'clock. I do most of my writing before 2 o'clock, but I am not getting up at 5 a.m. I know people who do. I know people who get up at 4:30. I know people who get up at 7. That is not me. My balance, my work-life balance is I don't have to be at my desk before 9 a.m. But that's my choice, right? That's my definition of freedom. My definition of, well, what makes me happy? My definition of freedom also kind of extends to in balance. Some days I wake up and I just cannot get my brain to focus. It is just not a focused day. So I do a few things to try and get focused. And if those do not work, I declare it's a day off. It's a mental health day. I'm going to do something else and I'm not going to feel guilty about it. Because I have deadlines that I make that are flexible enough. I make sure I've never missed a deadline, right? But if I need to take a random Thursday off because my brain is not cooperating, then I'm going to take a random Thursday off if my brain is not cooperating. So I want you to take a moment right now and think, what does your freedom look like? How can you achieve that freedom in your life? And it's not just about business. It's not just about, yeah, you know what? I'm going to be free when I make $100,000. I'm going to be free when I make $1,000,000. You could do that. Sure. But you don't have any goals other than the money number, other than the revenue number. What are you going to do with all that money? How is that going to help you build a life you want? You have to decide for yourself what that really, truly looks like. Right? What is it that you're going to be able to do that gives you the freedom you want? Entrepreneurial freedom is whatever you want to define it as. And that is why it is fantastic and amazing. And it's so incredibly powerful for us to be able to craft this life that we want. But so many people get lost. They're like, well, there's so much I need to do. There's so many things I have to figure out, right? I know I'm going to have to hit the grindstone, put myself in meetings all day, no bathroom breaks, and work 80 hours a week for the first couple of years. You don't have to do that. You get to decide what it looks like. Now, I will be honest, right? If you only spend 5 hours a week on your business and the rest of the time not on your business, then yes, it's going to take a while for you to get to that money goal of 6 figures, for example. But if your freedom, your definition of freedom and success is, well, I only need to be actively at my desk for 5 hours a day or for 5 hours a week because I can't sit for very long. I can't concentrate for that long. I want to be doing other things, but I want to be making money at the same time. If that's your definition of freedom, then you can make it work. Be aware of where your constraints are, right? Be aware of where that balance is. 5 hours a week is not going to build you $1,000,000 business in 2 months. But if you have a goal, if you have a plan, if you have a timeline, and that 5 hours a week, you can manage to accomplish all of your tasks to fill your timeline and reach your goal at whenever that is, if it's 12 months, 18 months, 3 years away, then absolutely do that. Find your balance. So I would like to challenge you today to just take a moment and write out a paragraph. What does your freedom look like? And I want you to really expand what that is, right? What does your freedom look like in terms of time with your family? What does your freedom look like in terms of money? What does your freedom look like in terms of location? What does it feel like to know you have that freedom? What might randomly happen one day that you can embrace the freedom on? And I was talking with a friend and colleague of mine. She said, yeah, yesterday I didn't work. I got together with a friend and we went mountain climbing. They got up at like 5 a.m. because apparently that's the time to do it. You get there really early. It's not super hot. There's not too many people there. So there's no crowding at the location. And they just went climbing on a random Wednesday morning or Monday morning. I don't remember what day of the week it was. It was a random day of the week though. That for her was her freedom to be like, you know what? I want to go climbing. It's been a while. I'm going to do it. So what does your freedom look like? What does that look like? And one of the ways to get this kind of freedom, one of the ways to get it so that you do not always have to be constantly in your business is to have a quality lead generation funnel in place. And that is one of those funnels. And that's just a fancy marketing term. It literally means just what is that marketing that's in place that brings people in and takes them to that next step. So that's what your funnel is. And do you have one that not only constantly brings people in, but does it without your say so? Do you have a system and strategy in place to put this kind of process in place? Do you have that strategy and system in place where you know that at any time of the day or night, someone can discover who you are and take a step to become closer to your world and maybe even become your client? So if you are wanting to finally put this kind of strategy in place for yourself so that no matter where you are, if you're on vacation or not, new people can find you and join your world, join your list, and actually start bringing in those qualified clients on autopilot, I encourage you to grab the brand new Ultimate Lead Magnet Guide, which outlines exactly what you want to put into those free gifts to get those ideal people into your world. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of More Conversations, Clients, and Cash. We talked all about freedom, your definition of entrepreneurial freedom, what that really means, and the value in setting your own goals and freedom goals for building and growing your business and the life that you want to live. Until next time, keep calm and plan out your ideal life.